Check, check, 1, 2. Call to order. Good afternoon, everyone. This is a regular meeting of the Marlin Independent School District being held March 18, 2024, beginning at 5 p.m. in the middle school library, 678 Success Drive. A live stream and recording of the meeting will be available for viewing on the district YouTube channel. The subject to be discussed or considered upon, which any form of action may be taken, are listed below. Items do not have to be taken in the same order as shown on this meeting notice. Unless removed from the consent agenda, items identified within the consent agenda will be acted on at one time. Roll call. Board Trustee Terry. Present. Board Trustee Demerson is absent. Johnson. Board of Managers Ehlers. Present. Board of Manager Radahu.
Present.
Did I get that right?
You got it right.
Thank you. All right. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Public comments?
There were none posted.
Thank you. At this time, we do recognition.
All right. Well, good evening, Board President Johnson, members of the board, Dr. Henson. So tonight we'll begin our recognitions with our Lone Star Governance Student of the Month. Catherine Lynn is 10 years old and she is in the 5th grade. Her hobbies are crafting, skating, crocheting, and drawing. Her best subjects are math and reading. She wants to either go to TSTC or Harvard, so great goals. Her hero is her dad because he inspires her to work hard. Please join us in congratulating Catherine Lynn as this month's Lone Star Governance Student of the Month. Come on over here. Get a nice little certificate and you get to take a picture. So scoot on over there. Good job. Another round of applause for Catherine. Next, our Lone Star Governance Teacher of the Month. Mrs. Jones' passion is in education and serving her community. She is currently teaching our wonderful 5th graders, but also, aside from her teaching career, she's the founding board member for an educational nonprofit with the acronym of MATH, Making Awesome Things Happen, which she does every day in her classroom. Mrs. Jones is a graduate of Texas State Technical College, and she earned her Bachelor's of Science degree in education from the University of Mary Hardin Baylor. She comes from a family of educators, and she loves teaching math. She's also a city council member and the mayor pro tem of Lott, Texas. She spends her time off with her 2 grandsons, and she's the proud mother of a son, Darius, and daughter, Dr. Tarsha Hubert. Please join in a round of applause for Mrs. Eula Mae Jones. Yeah. Okay, yes, let's get over there. All right, thank you. Yeah, we fall out that never leave us, okay? All right. Next, we want to recognize Employees of the Month, and because we did skip a meeting, we have two to celebrate tonight. So first, we'd like to celebrate Ashley Moore, who is the RN here at the Marlin High School campus. She had to go and pick up her child, so she's not in attendance, but we like someone from her leadership team to accept on her behalf. But Nurse Moore earned her degree nursing from Navarro College. She has her bachelor's in nursing from Texas A&M University. She is practicing primarily, she used to do geriatric home health before she started as a school nurse. She began her nursing career here in Marlin in August of 2022, and she has been a great asset to our district. She's been married for 7 years. She lives in Axtell, and she loves spending time with her family, especially outdoors. So if you all could just give a round of applause for Miss Ashley Moore. So during spring break, our plaques were sent back, but we will have that to give to Nurse Moore. And so there you go. Ms. Cardier, thank you for accepting on her behalf. Thank you. All right. The plaque is in the mail. Okay. So next, Ms. Lindy Mitchell. With 18 years of experience in education, Ms. Mitchell has held various roles, including 10 years as a classroom teacher, nurturing young minds and fostering a love of learning. She has 8 years of experience as an instructional coach, supporting her fellow educators. Currently, she serves as the instructional technology coach here in Marlin ISD. Her academic background includes a bachelor's in interdisciplinary studies from Texas A&M and a master's in education administration from Sam Houston State University. Throughout her career, Mrs. Mitchell has remained dedicated to advancing education and developing educators. So let's give a round of applause for Miss Lindy Mitchell. Still take them? And you can still take a picture holding your pretend plaque. But Thank you.
Thank you.
We'd like to say congratulations to all the winners from the board. Next thing on the agenda is we're going into a closed session. At 5:08. Pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551074, deliberation of personnel matters to include the recommendation to hire a head coach. B, prudent to Texas Government Code Section 551071, consultation with attorney. We're in closed session. back in open session at 5:38. Next on the item agenda is superintendent report.
Good evening, Board President Johnson, members of the board. Tonight, we will begin with the bond 2022 update by Mr. Jesse Bustamante.
Good afternoon, Board President Johnson, members of the board, Dr. Henson. Making way for the future of Marlin ISD. Today, you will receive a quick update on the transformation of Legion Field. Couple updates for Legion Field. So Sanchez Driveways has completed the alternate 2. This is the area that's around the visitors' restroom at the stadium. This project consists of concrete work around the visitor side of the restroom. Legion Field demolition, Giants Construction has completed the demolition of the 2 old ticket booths and the old concession stand. Couple of pictures from the new concrete at Legion Field. As you can see now, as you're walking to the visitor side, you have 2 options to get to the other side. A couple more pictures of the new concrete work. And then I want to share this updated picture from Google. Glad that they updated our beautiful Legion Field now, so we have a nice turf field on Google Images now. So the arrows are the buildings that were demolished. As you can see on this side right here, this was the old concession stand, and they demolished the ticket booth that was right here, right in the middle, and then this random little office that me and Marshall used to use during the games. So those buildings are no longer there, and the last thing that was still left to be demolished was the giant light tower, but they have already started that work, so it should be down in the next couple of days. And these are the pictures. You can see the ticket booth is not there anymore. The little office that was right there by the gate is not there, and then the old concession stand is no longer there as well. Are there any questions? Thank you.
2024-2025 budget workshop by Dr. Stacy Parker Knight.
Good evening again, Board President Johnson, members of the board. Transforming visions into reality starts with a solid financial blueprint. Budget workshops help empower us to make informed decisions and ensure that every dollar counts towards our students' success. So tonight I'm going to present to you the first of a series of budget workshops for the planning for 2024-2025. So just a reminder of some of the key factors that influence a lot of our budget decisions. One, we always take a look at our enrollment and our staffing needs. A lot of our funding does come from students actually present in school, which is attendance, and then the basic allotment amount that the state allocates for each student that attends school, and then as well as our property tax values. These are some of the main factors that we have. There's other factors, but these are the primary factors that we look at when we start to talk about developing our budget for the future years. And just a quick highlight of what goes into the funding structure. So as we know, the local and state funding structure is such that as local taxes increase, state share decrease, and vice versa. So the state essentially try to meet us for what they say it would take to educate a student. They look at your property tax values and say, okay, what are you expected to generate in revenue with that? And then we will look at the cost based on your ADA and those other factors and meet you there. And so we study a lot our property values here, our collection percentage, our rates, and we look a lot at our attendance projections and the information that is submitted through our PEIMS collection process to kind of look at our structure for where we're heading into the future. So I get reports on a 6-week basis in partnership with Region 12. We take a deep dive into just that, how many days we were in for that session, what our enrollment was versus how many students were actually in attendance on that average daily attendance rate. And so right now, we've had 4 6-week periods in, and so we just kind of average that right now. Our enrollment is toggling between 903 students, but our average daily attendance rate is the equivalent of about 817 students. That just means of consistent attendance.
Board President Johnson, members of the board, and now for the second year in a row, we have maintained
Adam.
a healthy enrollment of above 900 students. So we are pleased to see that our students have returned to Marlin ISD and they have remained here in the district. Then working with Dr. Parker, so in Texas, we are funded off of our average daily attendance, the ADA. The number in which we did submit to the state 2 years ago, our projection was 818, if I'm not mistaken.
815.
815.
Yes.
So we're actually now 3 students above.
Yes.
So to be within that window is phenomenal. So a great job by Dr. Parker and team for that projection. So the state will owe us $10,000.
They will, thank you. And that's always the goal, is to ensure that we are in their favor where they owe us and we don't owe them. So that's my goal. Thank you, Dr. Henson. So looking again historically, just we've had just a phenomenal job again. I'm giving kudos to our superintendent, Dr. Henson, and my colleagues and our teachers for the great work that they're doing. As we improve our programs, we've seen an increase, as Dr. Henson alluded to, in our student enrollment. And so when we began presenting, we were averaging in the 700 range. And so now we are strong in meeting our projections. Based on that, and with other factors, looking at our anticipated local, and again, this is projections, just looking historically at our collections and what they should be. Looking at our local taxes, we're anticipated to still collect around $3.2 million. Our local other, that's just kind of like those, that's a variable like game receipts, ticket sales and things for our games. Those are just interest on our maintenance and operation account. So that's kind of a variable, but I just looked at the average of where we are over the years to feel comfortable about that prediction.
And Board President Johnson, members of the board, if you see from 23-24 to 24-25, we're projecting a slight decrease in revenue. The reason why is we want to be overly conservative when adjusting for our revenue. $12.3 million is still more than enough for the district to operate, on top of any grants that our team will receive throughout the various years. So we feel comfortable in working with Dr. Parker. We felt it was best to just remain on the conservative side of things, just to make sure that our expenditures don't ever exceed our revenue.
Right. And I checked this twice because we did come just with the average of 11 when I first dipped into 12. Dr. Henson said, wait, what? But we did have that. It is primarily due to our increase in our student body. And, we raise our expenses a little bit to accommodate the larger student body and staff that we have to educate them. So just giving you a glimpse of the analogy of how our money is spent in a dollar visual is approximately 48% goes to instruction. So the majority of our money is always spent on instruction, teachers, books, curriculum, student activities, any and everything for the instructional program. Next is always facilities, the cost of the electric bill, the water bill and those things, keeping things running, comes in at about 19%. And then you'll see where student support services, admin, and that very fine line at the bottom is just all those other factors that go into operating a school. But just to show how we break that down visually, instruction and operations will always supersede. For the budget planning, so what I did, I've always I've been planning the whole year. So starting in August, when we came back, I hold regular budget meetings with budget managers, just kind of checking in with them to ensure that they don't have any questions, that they understand how to spend, what's allowed, proper use of coding, just so that all those things are correct, and just continue to analyze how the spending is going so that they can make some great predictions for needs for the upcoming school year. And so beginning this month, I'll now be having one-on-one meetings with budget managers to actually look at a year in a review to start planning their requested budgets for the 24-25 school year. We'll also start that process, and then this is the first of 3 workshops, and we'll come to you in April, and again before it's time to adopt the final budget, to give you updates as we get closer in our projections to more of a realized final amount.
Board President Johnson, members of the board, and one thing that over the past 3 to 4 years, we have received A on our financial integrity ratings from the state. So despite the influx of revenue, we've made sure that we're doing it in the right way, as well as having received positive reviews on our audit, even from both auditors. A lot of that is done to the pre-planning by Dr. Parker and her team. It's important that as we're allocating funds, we know that the majority is going to go to instruction and to facilities in Vince and Marshall. But even for the remaining budget pieces, we've created processes so everyone knows this expense is allowable. So just because you have in your budget, $25,000, you just can't buy certain things with it. So there's been a lot of training to go along the way. That's why I feel more than comfortable with the 12.3, because not that we streamline, because I believe when it comes to children, I'm okay with going over and beyond. Let the cup runneth over. Ain't that right, Norman? So, but it's good to know that we have had successful audits along the way, even in utilizing our federal funds and our grants. Federal funds are highly scrutinized. If you spend a federal dollar in the wrong way, this suit will go from navy blue to orange very quickly. So just working with the team, and our children have not gone without.
No.
And I think that's important to Marlin ISD. If there's a need instructionally, for extracurricular, for FFA, for travel, I think we're about to buy a new ag truck because that F-250 is probably an F-25 now. We really want to make sure that we're getting our students what they need to be successful.
Yes. So some of those takeaways is that actually I was going to toot my horn a little bit, is that this year's projected budget is tracking better than the approved budget. So it is a running joke that I won't let anyone spend anything, but I do. We spend a lot. We spend a lot. However, with the processes that Dr. Henson outlined, it is with the plan. So our goal is to always just, again, have a thorough plan for our budget so that when we're operating, there's no surprises, we know, and then we can really justify any emergencies or expenses. So we've been very blessed to be able to handle any the AC went out or any just emergency without having to have a financial crisis because of the thorough planning and the dedication to just ensuring we budget according to that plan. So planning again for next year's budget, also looking at recruitment and retention of staff. The effective budgeting process also supports our human resource department in being able to think of out-of-the-box incentives and things to continue to attract quality staff to our district and retain our teachers that have worked so hard. And so I try my best to ensure we have the budget to accommodate for those incentives. And so we'll just continue to evaluate where we can save efficiencies, any duplication of efforts, streamlining things that we may need to do, but not to short any student, any teacher on what they need, and then looking at the projected growth in our student enrollment, as I'm sure when those stadium lights come on, more will come. And then our next board budget workshop will be our May 6th board meeting. Any questions? Okay. So efficient fiscal management means maximizing, again, our resources for student growth. It remains our mission to prioritize every penny towards educational excellence. And so I present tonight the financial report for February. So in your board packet, you will be able to see all of the reports. Looking at our general fund, you will see the revenue received in the month of February, along with the expenses that went out. And again, as we illustrated in the budget planning in the workshop, our largest expense will always be instruction. We were to the good in February, where we did actually receive more revenue than we had expenditures. For food service, same as we continue to receive our local and our federal revenue for food services, and we also highlight the cost it was in February to feed the babies, and we were to the good in food services as well. On our interest in sinking account, again, highlighting that the revenue is the collections for our INS. This is the collections that we utilize to make our bond debt payments, and you'll see the amount that was generated in February, as well as the bond payment that went out in February as well for our first bond payment due.
Board President Johnson, members of the board, so a little transparency about this. The bond payment was made for $2,027,000. Our collections in taxes was $1.496 million. So we had not received all of the taxes yet, because some people, they pay their taxes late or they're delinquent on their taxes. So the district, we of course, we have the reserve and we have the funds, so we did pay on our own $531,000. But working with our tax attorneys, what they're doing is they're now going to begin all of the suits just to make sure that all that 531 is received, and every month money is still coming in. The next thing, making sure as it relates to ag exemption, we're going around checking. You just can't put a chicken on your property and then claim ag exemption. So our tax attorney is verifying to see how much of that 531 we can put a dent into to return the funds back to the district. However, Marlon ISD, we definitely have more than enough reserve to take care of that.
Yes. For our construction account, you'll also see local revenue is just off of our construction interest that's received and the amounts that go out. I just want to always remind the board that we are keeping our construction funds in a pool account to accrue that interest. So we transfer money over to cover the cost of the various projects when they occur, and so that we don't sit the money in a low to no interest bearing account. We can maximize those funds to be able to add some chairs and tables later. Just again to highlight that interest, if you look at the text pool account, we do have some of our local maintenance funds in a pool account as well to generate interest to be able, as Dr. Henson says, we get revenue from all sides so that when we do have emergencies or areas where we may need to cover unintended expenses, that it won't be to the detriment of the district. Our text pool construction account, the highlighted amount is how much monthly interest was gained in those accounts, as well as our fidelity account, which actually I didn't highlight because it's quarterly. So the new quarter is coming up, and so that'll refresh. But we did earn $221,239 for one quarter in that account, and then our first public account, the monthly interest there for construction. So averaging around $22,000 to $29,000 a month in interest. Then you have our local accounts in which we do business, our cadence accounts, which don't generate a lot of interest, but it shows the cash that we keep on hand to cover those checks and those expenses. And then you have the full check registry for the month of February in your board packet, but this is a snippet to just show you to highlight some of the checks that were paid out in that month. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Rural Pathways Excellence Partnerships, RPEP, by Mr. Jamal Robinson.
Good evening, Board President Johnson, members of the board, Superintendent Henson. Modern problems require modern solutions, and through the RPEP designation, we are providing many modern solutions for the various academic and vocational needs of our students. We are able to bring this designation to our district due to the law passed in June 2003, allowing districts to increase access to high-quality post-secondary educational pathways. Through this pathway, we are able to add additional funding to our student allotment for every student that participates, as well as receive outcome-based bonuses and grants for new partnerships. Through this agreement, we are able to bring additional revenue on top of our traditional student allotment. The RPEP is, for our region, the Falls County Collaborative, is a collaboration between Marlin, Rosebud Lot, and Region 12. Got it right this time. In our collaborative, we have the different pathways of robotics, automation, and exercise science and wellness restoration pathway, as well as we are looking to launch the marketing and sales pathway this upcoming fall. Our agreement requires us to have a board-approved agreement as a part of this and our School Action Fund grant approved by the board and in place by the end of the month to Region 2 TEA.
Board President Johnson, members of the board, this was brought to you all last week as information. Tonight, we are seeking your consent to enter into the official partnership and the MOU with Rosebud Lot ISD, Region 12, and TEA. This concludes the superintendent's report.
Been moved and second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the consent agenda, raise your hand. Motion passed 4-0. One absent.
Board President Johnson, members of the board, if I may, Board President Johnson, I would ask for Mr. Jesse Bustamante to come to the microphone and speak about Marlin ISD's new head football coach and any information that you have.
Well, since it is approved tonight already, I'd like to proudly announce that our new head football coach for the Marlin Bulldogs will be Jeff Rogers. Coach Rogers is currently our defensive coordinator. He was part of the first district championship that we've had in a very long time. He was part of the District 8 2A Staff of the Year. Prior to Marlin, Coach Rogers was the defensive coordinator at Groesbeck High School. Coach Rogers also has 20 years of experience. He has experience as an athletic director, as a head coach, and he's also served as the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator at his previous schools. So definitely excited about the direction our football program is going with Coach Rogers taking over as the new leader for the Marlin Bulldogs. So thank you for that.